Dr. Sarah Chun had been staring at the same screen for 3 hours. The coffee in her mug had gone cold, but she did not notice. Her hands shook slightly as she reached for the phone. Something was wrong with the data. Or rather, something was impossibly right. The radio telescope at Arecibo had picked up a signal. Not the random noise of distant stars or the predictable pulses of known pulsars. This was different. This was a pattern. A mathematical sequence that repeated every 47 seconds. Prime numbers arranged in a way that screamed intelligence. Sarah had spent 15 years listening to the stars. She had heard nothing but silence and static. Until tonight. Pick up, she whispered into the phone. Her supervisor, Dr. Robert Martinez, answered on the fourth ring. His voice was thick with sleep. Sarah? It's 2 in the morning. I know. You need to come to the observatory. Right now. What's going on? Sarah took a breath. I think we just received a message from someone out there. The silence on the other end lasted 5 seconds. Then she heard movement, the sound of feet hitting the floor. I'm on my way. Within 6 hours, the small observatory was crowded with people. Scientists, government officials, military personnel. Everyone wanted to see the data. Everyone wanted to confirm what seemed impossible. By noon, similar signals were being detected at observatories around the world. Radio telescopes in China, Australia, and South Africa all reported the same pattern. The signal was coming from just beyond the moon's orbit. They were already here. The President of the United States addressed the nation at 8 that evening. Other world leaders did the same. The message was simple and terrifying. Earth was about to make first contact with alien life. The visitors had sent a request to meet with representatives of humanity. They were asking permission to enter orbit. Sarah watched the address from the observatory's break room. Around her, colleagues sat in stunned silence. Some were crying. Others were smiling. A few looked scared. She felt all of those things at once. What do you think they want? Asked Dr. Martinez, sitting beside her. I don't know, Sarah replied. But I guess we're about to find out. The United Nations worked through the night. By morning, they had assembled a delegation. Secretary General Marcus Okonkwo would lead the team. He was a tall man from Nigeria with a calm presence that made people trust him. Joining him were scientists, diplomats, and translators. Though no one knew if translation would even be possible, Sarah was chosen to be part of the science team. She could barely believe it when she got the call. 20 hours after detecting the signal, she was on a plane to New York. The alien ships appeared on the 3rd day. They did not hide or slowly approach. One moment, the space near Earth was empty. The next, 17 massive vessels hung in orbit. Each one was the size of a small city. Their shapes were strange, nothing like the rockets and shuttles humans built. They looked organic, like giant shells or seed pods, covered in patterns that seemed to shift in the light. The world stopped. Every screen on Earth showed the same images. The ships did not attack. They did not move. They simply waited. A message came 12 hours later. It was transmitted in multiple formats, audio and visual. Someone or something had studied human broadcasts. The voice that spoke was artificial, clearly assembled from recorded human speech, but the words were clear. We are the Galactic Concordance. We come in peace. We apologize for the intrusion into your system. We did not know intelligent life existed here. Please, we wish to speak with your leaders. We mean no harm. We are frightened. That last word confused everyone. Frightened? They had 17 massive ships and technology that could cross the stars. What did they have to be frightened of? The meeting was arranged for the following day. A small shuttle would carry the human delegation to the flagship. The alien vessel was called Harmonious Truth, according to the translation. Sarah was among the 12 humans chosen to make the trip. She barely slept that night. None of them did. They went through briefing after briefing. Doctors checked their health. Psychologists prepared them for the shock of meeting alien beings. Military advisors warned them about security. But no amount of preparation felt like enough. The shuttle ride was smooth. The alien ship grew larger in the window until it filled Sarah's entire view. Up close, she could see the patterns on its surface were not decorations. They moved, pulsed with soft light. The ship was alive in some way, or at least partially biological. A docking port opened like a flower blooming. The shuttle connected with a soft thump. Marcus Okonkwo stood and straightened his jacket. He looked at the team. Whatever happens, remember we represent all of humanity. Be respectful, be honest, and stay calm. The door opened. The air that came through smelled strange, like rain and metal and something sweet. The corridor beyond was lit with soft blue light. And waiting for them were the aliens. They were nothing like humans. The closest one stood on 4 legs, its body low to the ground like a large cat. But its skin was covered in small scales that shimmered. It had no face that Sarah could recognize, just a cluster of eye-like organs and a speaking membrane that vibrated. Behind it were others, all different. One looked like a floating jellyfish made of crystal. Another was tall and thin, with too many joints in its limbs. A third seemed to be made of living metal, but what struck Sarah most was not how different they looked. It was the way they moved, carefully, hesitantly. The cat-like alien took a step back when the humans emerged from the shuttle. It spoke, and devices around its body translated the sounds into English. Welcome, representatives of Earth. I am Counselor Vexter. On behalf of the Concordance, I greet you. Please, we have much to discuss. There has been a terrible misunderstanding. The alien paused, and its eye organs fixed on the humans. We did not know your world was inhabited. In our records, this planet is classified as uninhabitable. A death world? We came to study it from a safe distance. We never imagined anyone could actually live there. Sarah felt Marcus stiffen beside her. I'm sorry, the Secretary General said slowly. Did you say death world? Yes, Vexter replied. Your planet is one of the most dangerous environments we have ever encountered. The gravity, the atmosphere, the radiation from your star, the aggressive bacterial life, the toxic plant compounds, the predatory animals. It should be impossible for complex life to evolve there. And yet, you exist. You thrive there. Do you understand what that means? The alien took another step back, and Sarah finally understood the emotion in its movements. It was not greeting them as equals. It was greeting them with fear. It means, Vexter continued, that you are Deathworlders, and nothing in the galaxy is quite like you. The conference room aboard Harmonious Truth was designed for beings that did not sit the way humans did. The furniture adjusted and shifted, growing supports and cushions that tried to match human bodies. It was uncomfortable, but Sarah appreciated the effort. Across the table, 7 different alien species observed the human delegation. Each wore translation devices that hung in the air around them or attached to their bodies. Some breathed through masks. Others sat in enclosed pods filled with mist or strange colored gases. One alien, who introduced itself as Zixthar, wore what looked like a full protective suit, as if the humans themselves were dangerous. Maybe they were. Let me understand this correctly, Marcus Okonkwo said, his voice steady despite the strangeness of the situation. You classify planets by how dangerous they are to life? Counselor Vexter's scales rippled in what the translation device called affirmative movement. The device's voice was calm and neutral. Yes, Most worlds in the galaxy fall within standard parameters. Comfortable gravity, stable atmospheres, moderate radiation exposure. These are garden worlds. Then there are challenge worlds, which require some adaptation but are manageable. And then there are death worlds. "An Earth is a death world," said Dr. Elena Volkov, a biologist who sat to Marcus's left. "The third most dangerous planet we have on record," another alien responded. This one looked like a collection of vines woven together into a vaguely humanoid shape. Its name translated as "bloom in deep soil." "We are astonished that intelligent life emerged there. We are more astonished that you seem unaware of how extreme your environment is." Sarah Chun felt a strange mix of pride and discomfort. "Can you explain what makes it so dangerous?" The aliens exchanged looks, or at least movements that seemed like looks. Vexter spoke again. "Perhaps it would be easier to show you. With your permission, we would like to present our initial assessment of Earth." Marcus nodded. "Please." A display appeared in the center of the table, a hologram showing Earth rotating slowly. It looked beautiful, blue and green and white. Sarah had seen pictures like this her whole life. She never thought of her home as dangerous. "Your planet's gravity," Vexter began, "is 1.5 times standard galactic norm. Most species experience significant physical stress at anything above 1.2. Extended exposure would cause bone deterioration and organ damage for the majority of Concordance members." A soldier in the human delegation, Captain James Rodriguez, frowned. "That's just normal for us." "Yes, which means your bodies are significantly stronger than most intelligent species. Your bone density, muscle mass, and cardiovascular system are all adapted to extreme conditions." The display changed, showing Earth's atmosphere. "Your air is 21% oxygen. This is highly unusual. Oxygen is corrosive. Most worlds maintain oxygen levels between 8 and 12%. Yours is nearly double. It accelerates aging and cell damage, but it also provides enormous energy for biological processes. You can sustain physical activity that would kill most species from exhaustion." Dr. Volkov leaned forward. "Our oxygen levels are dangerous?" "Extremely," confirmed Bloom in deep soil. "There is a reason we wear protective equipment in your presence. The oxygen you exhale could poison several species in this room." The display shifted again, showing the sun. "Your star is a yellow dwarf, young and energetic. The radiation it produces would cause rapid cellular breakdown in most species. Your planet's magnetic field provides some protection, but the surface radiation levels are still significant. Yet you expose yourselves to direct sunlight regularly. Some of you even seek it out for recreation." Sarah thought about beach vacations and felt suddenly strange about them. "And the biological hazards," Vexter continued. "Your planet is home to countless microscopic organisms. Bacteria, viruses, fungi. They are everywhere. In your soil, your water, your air. Most are harmless to you because you evolved alongside them. But they are deadly to us. 3 of our researchers who visited your planet in sealed environmental suits still became ill from contamination. 1 nearly died." "We didn't mean to hurt anyone," Marcus said quickly. "We know. But do you see the picture forming? Your world forces life to be aggressive, competitive, resilient. Your plants produce toxins to defend themselves. Many of your food crops contain compounds that would be lethal to other species. Caffeine, capsaicin, theobromine. You consume these recreationally." Captain Rodriguez shifted in his seat. "Wait, you're telling me coffee is a toxin?" "To most species, yes. A stimulant poison that you have built up a tolerance to." Vexther's eye organs focused on the captain. "You also mentioned that humans engage in persistence hunting. Can you explain this practice?" Rodriguez looked confused by the question. Sure. It's an old hunting method. You track an animal and chase it. Not fast, just steady. You keep following it for hours, sometimes days, until it collapses from exhaustion. Then you kill it. The room went very quiet. Several aliens made distressed movements. One's translation device emitted something that sounded like a whimper. You hunt by exhausting your prey to death, Bloom in Deep Soil said slowly. You chase them until they simply cannot continue. Until they are too tired to even flee. Well, yeah. Humans aren't the fastest runners, but we have really good endurance. We can keep going when other animals have to stop. This is nightmare behavior, Zixthar said quietly, speaking for the first time. The young alien suit made a hissing sound. Predator species exist in the galaxy, but they kill quickly. Ambush and strike. The idea of being chased for days, knowing you cannot escape, knowing your pursuer will never stop, never tire, until you collapse. This is horror. Sarah saw her colleagues exchanging uncomfortable glances. They had never thought of human abilities as frightening before. They were just normal. Dr. Volkov spoke carefully. I think there's been a misunderstanding about humans. Yes, we evolved in difficult conditions. But we're not violent by nature. We have art, music, literature. We build communities. We care for each other. We're more than just our physical abilities. We do not doubt your culture or your capacity for compassion, Vexter replied. But you must understand our perspective. In the Concordance, most species evolved on gentle worlds. Conflict is rare. Predation is nearly extinct. We solve problems through discussion and cooperation because our bodies are fragile. We cannot afford violence. The alien paused, and its scales shifted to a darker color. And we discover you. A species from a planet that tries to kill everything on it. A species that survived by becoming nearly indestructible, by building bodies that can endure almost anything. A species that developed nuclear weapons within a century of industrialization. Do you understand why we are frightened? Marcus Okonkwo sat back in his chair. The weight of the situation was settling on all of them. Humanity had always wondered what first contact would be like. They had imagined being the primitive ones, the weak ones, the species that needed to catch up. They had never imagined being the monsters. We don't want to frighten you, Marcus said finally. We want to learn from you, to join the galactic community. But we need you to see us as people, not just as products of our environment. That is what we are trying to do, Vexter replied. It is simply difficult. Your Captain Rodriguez just casually described hunting behavior that features in our horror stories. Your doctor mentioned that humans drink poison for pleasure. Your planet nearly killed our researchers with invisible organisms. And yet, you all sit here, calm and friendly, unaware of how extraordinary and terrifying you are. Zixthar's translation device made a sound like a sigh. I have studied your broadcasts, your entertainment, your stories. You have a genre of fiction called survival horror, yes? Where characters must endure terrible conditions and constant threats to stay alive. Yes, Sarah confirmed. That is simply your daily existence. You live in survival horror and call it normal. How do we bridge that gap in understanding? The question hung in the air. No one had an answer. Outside the ship's windows, Earth hung in space, beautiful and deadly. Humanity's home, their death world. And somehow they had to convince the galaxy that they were more than the sum of their adaptations. They had to prove that Deathworlders could be friends, not nightmares. The real work of first contact was just beginning. Ambassador Keiko. Tanaka smiled for the cameras as the first official alien delegation stepped onto Earth. The landing site was carefully chosen. A neutral area in Switzerland surrounded by mountains. Security was everywhere, but hidden. The goal was to look welcoming, not threatening. It had been 2 months since first contact. 2 months of careful negotiations and cultural exchanges. The Concordants had agreed to establish formal relations with Earth. They would share knowledge, technology, and culture. In return, humanity would agree to certain restrictions on space travel and would allow monitoring of their expansion beyond their solar system. Some humans were angry about the restrictions. Others were grateful for the contact at all. Most were simply curious about their new neighbors. The alien delegation consisted of 5 members from different species. They all wore protective suits now, bulky things that filtered the air and regulated the environment around them. It made them look like astronauts, which Keiko supposed they were, in a way. Every alien visiting Earth was an explorer entering hostile territory. Zixthar was among them. The young translator had become an unexpected bridge between the two groups. Over video calls and messages, a cautious friendship had formed between Zixthar and Dr. Sarah Chun. They shared notes about their respective worlds, asked careful questions, and slowly built understanding. Today, Zixthar would see Earth in person for the first time. "Welcome to Earth," Keiko said warmly, bowing slightly. "We are honored by your visit." Counselor Vexthar's translation device crackled. "Thank you for receiving us. We are aware of the risks you perceive in having us here. We appreciate your trust." What Vexthar didn't say, but Keiko knew, was that the aliens were terrified. The trip down from orbit had been hard for them. Earth's gravity pulled at their bodies. The atmospheric entry, routine for human spacecraft, had felt violent to their ship. And now they stood on the surface of a death world, breathing filtered air and hoping their suits held. The cultural exchange program had created as many problems as it solved. Small incidents kept happening, moments where the differences between species became painfully clear. A human child in Tokyo had approached an alien visitor, excited to meet a real extraterrestrial. The child had reached out for a handshake, a friendly gesture. The alien, a Lyrian with delicate crystalline structures, had tried to reciprocate. The child's grip, normal for an 8-year-old human, had shattered 3 of the alien's finger-like appendages. The child cried. The alien had to be hospitalized. No one meant any harm, but the damage was done. A delegation of alien scientists had visited a nature preserve in Kenya. They wanted to see Earth's famous wildlife. The experience traumatized them. They watched a lion hunt, something documentaries showed all the time, something tourists saw regularly. 2 of the aliens fainted. Another refused to leave its environmental pod for 3 days afterward. The casual violence of Earth's ecosystem, the way predator and prey existed in constant cycle, was too much for them. And then there was the cold incident. A human diplomat had visited the Concordance flagship with what seemed like a minor illness. Just a cold, nothing serious. The human felt fine after 2 days. But the virus spread through the ship's recycled air. 3 alien crew members became critically ill despite their filtered environments. 1 nearly died. Earth's common diseases were not common to anyone else. The galactic networks buzzed with discussions about humanity. Some aliens were fascinated, viewing humans as incredible survivors worth studying. Others were afraid, calling for Earth to be quarantined. Video footage from Earth circulated widely. Footage of human athletes, soldiers in training, people casually doing things that aliens considered impossible. A video of human military training went viral on alien networks. It showed soldiers running long distances with heavy packs, climbing obstacles, and enduring extreme conditions. The commentary from alien viewers was illuminating. They trained for combat by exhausting themselves? That soldier just lifted weight, equivalent to 3 times its body mass. They do this voluntarily. For discipline. This is torture. They call it exercise. General Patricia Moss watched these reactions with different emotions than the diplomats felt. She sat in a secure facility in Colorado, reviewing intelligence reports. The general was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 30 years in the military and now oversaw Earth's defense coordination with the new galactic situation. She did not trust the Concordants. Not completely. "They're afraid of us," she said to her team during a briefing. "That fear could be useful, or it could be dangerous. General, the Secretary General has made it clear that we're pursuing peaceful integration," her aide reminded her. "I know what the Secretary General wants. I'm saying we need to be prepared for other scenarios. If the Concordance decides humanity is too dangerous to exist freely, what then? Do we just accept containment?" It was a question many humans were asking. On social media, in government halls, in coffee shops around the world. Should humanity accept being treated as dangerous simply because they evolved differently? Or should they demand equal respect? Corporate interests had their own concerns. Technology companies saw the Concordance's advanced science and wanted access to it. Energy corporations looked at faster-than-light travel and saw profit. Mining companies dreamed of asteroid belts and planetary resources. Everyone wanted something from the galaxy, and the restrictions chafed. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists spread wild stories. Some claimed the aliens were secretly planning to exterminate humanity. Others insisted the whole thing was a hoax. A few started worship movements, declaring the aliens to be gods or demons. The internet, as always, was chaos, but real connections were forming too. Sarah Chun and Zixthar had their friendship. A human artist named Marcus Webb collaborated with an alien composer, creating music that blended both cultures. A human chef and an alien food scientist worked together to find ingredients that both species could safely enjoy. Though the list was very short, Keiko Tanaka watched all of this from her position at the United Nations. Her job was to keep the peace, to smooth over incidents, to build bridges. Some days it felt impossible. Today was one of those days. She had just received word of another incident. A human cargo ship had accidentally entered a restricted zone near a Concordance colony. The crew didn't realize the area was off limits. The signaling system used by the Concordance was different from Earth's navigation markers. The ship kept going, and the colony's defense system activated. Warning shots were fired. The human ship's shields, designed to protect against space debris and radiation, absorbed the shots easily. To the humans, it was just a malfunction. To the aliens, it looked like an armored Deathworlder vessel, ignoring their weapons and advancing on their colony. The situation was escalating. Fast, Keiko rushed to the communication center. She needed to reach Marcus Okonkwo and the human ship's captain before this turned into something worse. Before fear and misunderstanding led to the one thing everyone was trying to avoid. War. As she ran, she thought about what Vexler had said during their first meeting. The Concordance had never fought a war with a species like humanity. Most galactic conflicts were brief, resolved through negotiation, because no one could afford prolonged violence. Fragile species and fragile ships made fragile peace, but humans were not fragile. And if fighting started, Keiko knew that both sides would lose, but in different ways. The Concordance might lose ships and lives. Humanity would lose any chance of being accepted as more than the monsters from the thing. Deathworld. She grabbed the phone and started making calls. Somewhere between Earth and the stars, a cargo ship captain named Sarah Murphy was about to become the most important person in human history, and she didn't even know it. Yet. Captain Sarah Murphy was having a bad day. The navigation system on the Venture was acting up again, showing errors that didn't make sense. Her crew of 15 were all experienced miners heading to the asteroid belt beyond Mars. They had made this run a dozen times. But something was wrong with the readings. "Captain, I'm seeing warnings in a format "I don't recognize," said her navigator. "Tom Chun. It's not in any standard Earth code." Sarah frowned at her screen. After 3 months of humanity being in contact with aliens, the navigation systems were still being updated to recognize concordance signals. Apparently, her ship's updates hadn't finished installing. "Can you tell what they're saying?" she asked. "Not clearly. Could be weather warnings? Or traffic control? The translator is giving me conflicting interpretations." Sarah made a decision. Mark it in the log and keep going. We're still in improved space. If it was critical, we'd be getting direct communication. She was wrong. 3 light minutes away, on the Concordance colony world Gentle Harbor, alarms were screaming. The colony was home to 70,000 aliens, mostly families and researchers. It was a peaceful place, a garden world with low gravity and soft atmosphere. Most residents had never seen a Deathworlder in person. Now one of their ships was approaching. And it wasn't stopping. Colony Defense Commander Threlkor watched the scanners with growing panic. His species, the Ventari, had long ears that drooped when stressed. Right now, they were nearly touching the floor. "They're not responding to warnings," his communications officer reported. "We've sent 12 different signals. Nothing. Their shields are active, weapons control added. Military grade by our readings." Threlkor's training said this was an attack. A Deathworlder vessel, shields up, ignoring all communication, heading toward a civilian population. Protocol was clear. Defend the colony. But his mind raced with doubts. The humans had been peaceful, hadn't they? "Prepare defensive fire," he ordered. "Warning shots only. Maybe they'll understand that." The colony's defense platforms were designed to deter pirates and small threats. They fired bright pulses of energy that would disable most ships' navigation systems. The shots streaked toward the Venture. On the cargo ship, alarms suddenly blared. Tom Chun yelped in surprise. "Captain, someone just fired at us." "What?" Sarah jumped from her seat. "Where? Who?" "Unknown. Energy weapons, low yield. They hit our shields, but no damage." Sarah's heart raced. Were they being attacked? By who? Pirates? That didn't make sense this close to Earth. Unless... Oh no. "Tom, check our position against the Concordance colonial zones." Now. Tom's fingers flew across his console. His face went pale. "Captain, we're less than a light minute from Gentle Harbor. It's a Concordance colony. Population 70,000. And we're approaching with shields up, not answering their hails because we can't read them." Sarah felt her stomach drop. They think we're attacking them. On Gentle Harbor, Threlkor watched the human ship continue its approach. The warning shots had done nothing. The vessel was either incredibly well shielded, or the humans were ignoring damage. Neither option was good. "They're still coming," his officer reported. Speed unchanged. Threlkor had to make a choice. Defend his colony or trust that this was a misunderstanding. But how could it be a misunderstanding? The humans had to know they were near a colony. The warnings were clear. Unless they really couldn't read them? "Target their engines," Threlkor ordered. "If we can disable them before they get closer, we can sort this out later." More shots fired. These were stronger, aimed with precision. On the Venture, the shields absorbed most of the impact, but the ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across every console. Sarah grabbed the communications panel. "This is Captain Sarah Murphy of Earth Cargo Vessel Venture. We are not attacking. Repeat, we are not attacking. We had a navigation error. We're changing course now." She hoped someone was listening. She hoped her message would get through. But she didn't know if the Concordance could even receive standard Earth broadcasts. They couldn't. The message was in the wrong format, wrong frequency. To the colony defense, The human ship was still coming, still silent. Counselor Vexter is on emergency channel, an officer on Gentle Harbor called out. The counselor had been on Earth for a cultural exchange. Now they were patched in from orbit. Do not fire. Vexter's translated voice was urgent. It could be a mistake. Humans use different communication systems. They might not know they're in restricted space. They've been warned 12 times, Threlker replied. And they're still approaching. What am I supposed to do? Let them reach the colony? On Earth, Ambassador Keiko Tanaka was in the middle of a crisis meeting. Every screen showed the developing situation. Secretary General Marcus Okonkwo was on a video call with Concordance leadership. General Patricia Moss was trying to contact the venture through military channels. We need to get through to that ship, Marcus said. Before someone makes a decision they can't take back. I'm trying, Moss replied. But there's communication lag, and the venture isn't military. They don't have priority channels. Sarah Chun was also watching, her hands pressed against her mouth. Zixstar stood beside her in the UN building, still in their protective suit. The young alien's translator made distressed sounds. My people are afraid, Zixstar said quietly. They see a Deathworlder ship that won't stop. Every story, every fear we have about your kind is coming true in their minds. It's just a cargo ship, Sarah protested. 15 people who made a navigation error. I know. But fear is not logical. Back on the venture, Captain Murphy had changed course, moving away from the colony at maximum speed. But the damage might already be done. The Concordance defense fleet was scrambling. 5 ships were moving to intercept, weapons active. Captain, we have company, Tom reported. 5 Concordance military vessels, closing fast. Sarah made a decision. Tom, broadcast on all frequencies. Every channel we have. Video, too. I want them to see us. What do I show them? Everything. The bridge, the crew, our cargo manifests. Show them we're just miners, not soldiers. It was a gamble. But Sarah figured transparency was their only chance. Tom activated every camera on the ship, every broadcast system. The feed showed the cargo hold full of mining equipment, the small crew at their stations. Sarah herself standing on the bridge looking scared and desperate. On Gentle Harbor, an officer gasped. Commander, we're receiving a visual feed from the human ship. Threlker watched the screens. He saw humans in simple work clothes, no armor or weapons. He saw mining tools, not military hardware. He saw a woman with her hands raised, speaking into a camera with fear in her eyes. He saw people. Not monsters. Just people who had made a mistake. Hold fire, Threlker ordered. Hold all fire. In orbit above Earth, Counselor Vexter watched the same feed. The alien closed their eyes in relief. Crisis averted. Barely but the hierarchs, the conservative faction within the Concordance, watched too. And they saw something different. They saw how close they had come to conflict. They saw how easily a simple human mistake had nearly triggered violence. They saw the proof of what they had argued from the beginning. Deathworlders were too dangerous to be allowed free movement in the galaxy. They were a threat, even when they didn't mean to be. Something had to be done. 3 days later, the hierarchs presented their case to the Concordance Council. Earth must accept strict containment. Human ships would be limited to their solar system. All human expansion would require Concordance oversight. For the safety of everyone, the peace that had been carefully built over 3 months was crumbling. And both sides had to decide what came next. The Concordance Council chamber was designed to hold representatives from hundreds of worlds. Today, it held the future of Earth. Secretary General Marcus Okonkwo stood at the center, surrounded by alien counselors. The humans were allowed only 5 representatives. The aliens numbered in the hundreds. It had been 1 week since the incident with the Venture. 1 week of intense negotiations, accusations, and fear. The hierarchs wanted Earth contained. They had support from nearly a third of the concordant species. They argued that humans were simply too dangerous to be trusted with free access to the galaxy. Marcus had spent those 7 days fighting for humanity's future. Now came the final hearing. "We accept that the incident was unintentional," spoke Hierarch Corvesh, a tall being made of segments that looked like living stone. "But this proves our point. Humans do not mean harm, yet harm follows them. Their very existence creates risk. Their bodies are weapons. Their diseases are plagues. Their ships are built to standards that make them nearly indestructible by our measures. How can we allow such beings to roam freely among our fragile colonies?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Marcus felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. What he said next would determine whether humanity joined the galaxy or remained isolated on Earth forever. Before he could speak, Zixthar stepped forward. The young translator had requested permission to address the council. A highly unusual move for someone so junior. But Councillor Vexther had supported the request. "Honored Council," Zixthar's translator spoke clearly. "I have spent 3 months studying humans. I have spoken with them daily. I have learned their languages, their customs, their fears. And I have learned something important. We are making the same mistake we always warn ourselves against. We are letting fear cloud our judgment." Corvish's segments ground together, a sound of displeasure. "You are young, Zixthar. You do not understand the weight of protecting billions of lives. I understand that we are afraid. I was afraid too. But I looked deeper." Zixthar activated a display. Images appeared, showing moments from human history. Yes, humans evolved on a death world. Yes, their bodies are strong. But look at what they built with that strength. They created art in the darkest times. They built hospitals to heal each other. They made laws to protect the weak among them. They reached for the stars not to conquer, but to explore. The display showed more images. Human children playing. Scientists collaborating. Cities full of life. Disaster responses, where humans rushed into danger to save others. They are capable of violence, yes, but they are equally capable of compassion. They are not monsters. They are people who survived impossible odds and chose, over and over, to be kind anyway. Sarah Chun watched from the human delegation, tears in her eyes. Zixthar was risking their career, maybe even their safety, to speak for humanity. "The incident with the Venture was not caused by human aggression," Zixthar continued. "It was caused by our different technologies, our different communication systems. We failed to update our navigation markers to formats humans could read. We fired first. Captain Murphy tried to explain, but we couldn't hear her because our systems were incompatible. Who failed in that situation? Was it the humans, or was it our lack of preparation?" The chamber went quiet. Corvish had no immediate response. Then Marcus Okonkwo spoke. "The hierarchs are right about one thing. Humans are different. We are stronger physically. We carry risks that other species don't. We accept that. But we ask this: judge us by our actions, not our biology. We made mistakes. We will make more. But we will learn. And we will work with you to create safety for everyone." He pulled up his own display. "Earth proposes the Accords of Understanding. We will accept regulated expansion beyond our solar system. Every human ship will carry concordance communication systems. We will establish quarantine protocols for our diseases. We will create cultural liaison programs so that our people learn from yours and yours from ours. We will submit to safety inspections and monitoring. But in return, we ask for respect. We ask to be seen as partners, not as threats to be contained. Ambassador Keiko Tanaka stepped forward. We also propose a joint research initiative. Humans have learned to survive in extreme environments. That knowledge could help terraform worlds that the Concordance has deemed uninhabitable. We could make new homes for species that need them. We could turn our adaptation to harsh conditions into something that benefits everyone. Dr. Elena Volkov added, and in return, we would gain access to your medical knowledge, your technology, your understanding of the galaxy. Humanity has so much to learn. We don't want to be isolated. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. The council debated for hours. Arguments flew back and forth. Some species supported humanity. Others remained fearful. But slowly, the tide began to turn. Zixthar's speech had affected people. The offer of cooperation, of real solutions instead of just demands, made a difference. In the end, the vote was close. But the accords of understanding passed. Earth would join the Concordance, with conditions. There would be restrictions, yes. There would be monitoring. But there would also be partnership. 5 years later, Sarah Chun stood on the observation deck of the research station New Horizons. Below her was a planet that had been deemed uninhabitable by Concordance standards. Too hot, too volcanic, too dangerous. But a joint human-alien team had spent 3 years making it livable. They used human engineering designed to work in extreme conditions, combined with Concordance terraforming technology. Now, the first colony ships were approaching. Families who needed a new home were about to land on a world that humans had helped create. Beside Sarah stood Zixthar. The translator had become a full ambassador, one of the leading voices for human Concordance cooperation. They still wore a protective suit, but a lighter one now. They didn't fear humans anymore. They understood them. Do you think this would have happened if the Venture incident had gone differently? Sarah asked. No, Zixthar replied honestly. If violence had started, both our peoples would have lost. But it didn't. We chose understanding instead. We chose to be better than our fears. On Earth, the changes were everywhere. Alien exchange students attended universities, wearing their protective equipment and studying subjects from art history to quantum physics. Human ships traveled to other worlds, carrying diplomats and traders and explorers. The restrictions remained, but they didn't feel like a prison. They felt like safety measures that protected everyone. General Patricia Moss had retired from military service. She now ran a training program that taught human soldiers and security personnel how to work alongside alien species without accidentally hurting them. Strength had to be controlled. Power had to be conscious. Captain Sarah Murphy became a celebrity without wanting to be. She gave talks about her experience, about the moment when everything could have gone wrong. She always ended with the same message. We're all afraid of what we don't understand. The trick is choosing curiosity over fear. Corporations were making profits from galactic trade, but under strict guidelines that prevented exploitation. Some companies complained about the regulations. Others adapted and thrived. Humanity was learning to be part of a larger economy, a larger society. Not everything was perfect. There were still incidents, still misunderstandings. A human athlete at the first Galactic Games accidentally injured 3 competitors and had to withdraw from competition. The Games Committee created new categories after that, separating species by physical capabilities rather than age. It wasn't discrimination. It was acknowledging reality while still allowing everyone to participate. Some aliens still feared humans. Some humans resented the restrictions placed on them. But most people on both sides were simply trying to live their lives, to raise their families, to build a future that included everyone. Marcus Okongwu, now retired from his position as Secretary General, watched news reports of the colony landing. He smiled. First contact had not gone the way anyone expected. Humanity had learned they were the strong ones, the scary ones, the Deathworlders. It had been humbling and frightening, but they had also learned something else. Strength without wisdom was just danger. True power came from using your advantages to help others, not dominate them. Humanity had a choice: be the monsters the galaxy feared, or be the friends the galaxy needed. They chose friendship. They chose to prove that Deathworlders could be gentle, that survivors could be kind, that the strongest hands could be the most careful. Nothing was the same after the Deathworlder fleet entered orbit. Earth ships now traveled among the stars, carrying people who had learned to be both strong and soft, both proud and humble. And the galaxy, slowly, carefully, learned that different didn't have to mean dangerous. It just meant different. And different could be beautiful.